woke up somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes later, covered in blood,
How do you
underneath the
know 20
log.
to 30 minutes? Just a guess, or did
All
you
the
have like,
blood that was on me was dry.
okay.
I just know that when I woke up, things were bloody and it was already crunchy. Bent the cam on my bow, broke one of the limbs, arrows and broadheads were laying everywhere. Figured out, okay, I'm covered in blood. What happened? I got shirts tore up.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another good one for you today. And also, again, I apologize for my voice. Still sick. It's been about a week. Starting to feel better, which is good, but hopefully next time you hear from me, I'm a little less, Barry White. But that being said, today we are connecting with Sam Westfall. Sam was introduced through a mutual connection, and he's out of Colorado, been hunting for longer than I've been alive, and man, he has some great stories for us today. Not only that, he's doing some really cool things with archery, PTSD, veterans, etc. So I want to thank Sam for coming on the podcast. It was a fun episode to record. Hopefully we can get together and shoot some sticks here soon. But beyond that, I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and make sure you check out all the links in the show notes. Sam's doing a lot of cool stuff. I'll let him tell you about it in the episode, but please check out what he's up to, and support him as well. But that's it, guys. Let's kick this thing off. Let's go ahead and let Sam tell you some of his stories. Thank you.
All right, Sam. Welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast, brother. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. I'm excited to be talking with you, sir. Even though you tried to talk me into rescheduling because you knew that I would get sick, and here I am with a frog in my throat. But thank you, Sam, for your patience and reschedules and being here to tell some stories to us, man. I
All
really
good, man.
appreciate it.
All good. Just tried to help you out. That's it.
Yeah, hey, like I told you at the beginning, you're just smarter than I am, and that's all there's to it. We don't need to debate. But let's do this, Sam. Why don't you introduce yourself so the
Sure.
folks know who they're going to be hearing some stories from today?
All right, so we'll short and sweet version. Sam Westfall. I'm an Army veteran. Served as an M1 Abrams tank mechanic for 7 years, 94 to 01. I've been a longtime hunter. This year marked 37 years, if that puts an age date to it. That's a frightening concept. Been a solo hunter for the last 14 years and been a bow hunter for about the last 15 years. So hunted with a rifle, chased critters from Wyoming, Colorado, Texas, New Mexico, out to Kentucky while I was stationed out there.
Gotcha. You've hunted for a long time, plenty of years.
Thank you for being that way. Yes.
Yeah. What was the catalyst that, like, let's see, 23 years you were a rifle hunter and all of a sudden you picked up a bow?
So part of that was dealing with working through some PTSD and stress, anxiety related
Okay.
issues. I shot competitively in the firearm space, whether it was IDPA, USPSA, IPSC, 2-gun, 3-gun, Indoor Combat League.
Okay.
And one of my buddies, close friends of mine, grabbed a hold of me and said, dude, I don't know if you noticed this. But he said, but I noticed this. And what that was when I got back from any of my events, he goes, you're like an asshole for 4 days. And so it took me a
We
little bit
all,
to
we
figure out
all
why.
need a friend that will tell us that, I think.
Right. It took me a little bit to figure out why. Turns out that putting a human silhouette downrange for me to shoot at after my time in service resurfaced a whole bunch of issues. And so he put a bow in my hand and he said, just shut up and shoot it. And I said, what's the difference? He goes, just shut up and shoot it. So grabbing the bow, pulling the bowstring back, realizing that the noise, the voices, everything just goes calm when you pull a bowstring back.
Yeah.
You let that arrow fly, it's a whole different ballgame because a little bit of stress, anxiety, depression, PTSD all go out with that arrow.
Mm.
And I was the very first arrow and I felt it immediately. And I said, okay, give me another arrow. Let's try it again. Let's see if same thing. Yep. All over again. So that was the day that I switched from rifle hunting to bow hunting. Haven't looked back since. Had a veteran outdoor group take me for a whitetail hunt up in Wyoming a couple years ago. It was a rifle hunt, so it'd been 13 years since I touched any of my hunting rifles. Pulled the trigger a few times at the range, getting everything dialed in, but after that it was one shot up in the woods and put the whitetail on the ground and all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise
Okay.
it's been a bow
That's
hunt
something I
since.
wanted to ask because, like, it makes sense in competitive shooting at a target that, human shape, that totally makes sense. In the woods, and obviously you gave it all up, but did you have any of that when it came to shooting at animals?
Not at
Or was
all.
it just kind of on the range?
Yep, it just in the
Okay.
indoor in the in the firearms competition space.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's cool that it was such a quick switch, right? Something that
Oh,
was,
I wouldn't say it was quick. That was a
well,
tough
I mean,
switch.
true, very true. But it was something that was maybe not a on-off switch, but like you took it from a negative place to obviously somewhere better just by shooting an arrow.
Yep. And
That's pretty
that's
cool.
and being able to take that same archery as therapy concept. Here we are 15 years later. Valor Archery Challenge was born. That's where really bringing archery as therapy to the rest of the military and veteran community when they're ready for it.
That's amazing. We'll talk. I definitely want
Yep,
to talk more about that in a bit. Have you read Zen and the Art of Archery? Have you ever
I
read that book?
haven't.
No, it's great. It's a funny book. It's very easy. Well, not an easy read. Very difficult read. Very small book. But a German philosopher who lived in Japan and shot arrows and talks about the philosophy of how they shoot, and it's very cool. And I think it would be. I mean, you might find it as an interesting read, especially
Okay.
how you've used archery. And anyone out there, again, hard read. Anytime we're doing philosophy, especially when you're talking like three degrees of separation with different cultures, it gets a little crazy. But very good book.
All right.
But that's not why we're here. I just wanted to mention it. We're here. We're here to hear some of your favorite stories, Sam. So why don't you set the stage? Whatever stories are important to you, we'd love to hear
So let's talk about solo bow hunting. It's as a hunter, if you've spent time in the woods, especially in Western mountains, Rocky Mountain mountains, you know that they're big mountains.
them.
They're unforgiving. Solo bow hunting takes it to a whole different level of complexity and occasionally danger.
Yeah.
And so
Quick,
that's where,
quick question I have for you, because I know that you mentioned specifically that you switched to archery, and then a year later you went to solo hunting. If my timing's right on that with the
yep.
numbers you gave me, but like, what was the catalyst to go? I'm tired of hunting with other people.
I learned after my first year of hunting with bow hunting with somebody else that there's a way to get into animals and get closer to animals. And
Okay.
within the first couple of years of bow hunting, I realized changing my diet ramped my odds up for success of getting closer to the animals. So I eliminate garlic, I eliminate alcohol. 2 months beforehand, I eliminate anything deep fried, and then I go vegetarian for a month.
Oh,
And most people won't have that same level of dedication to go play in the woods with me.
yeah.
So, taking that to the nth degree and to some level of extreme, realized, okay, not everybody's going to want to play. It's better for me to just go do my own thing.
That
And
makes sense.
the other side of it is hunting solo. Elk hunting is for instance, instead of hunting with a buddy and you're set up in a scenario where you've got your caller is 60 to 70 yards behind you and you're bringing that elk to you, or he's bringing that elk to you, you got to figure out how to do it on your own. And that creates a new level of complexity and challenge, which is a lot more fun for me.
Okay. That makes sense. You said one thing in there that I have to ask about. Then we'll go back to your story. You probably know what I'm going to ask, but you said you go vegetarian for a month before you go hunting.
Yep.
That is a little bit of an oxymoron. I'd love to hear what you're thinking with when you do that, because that's very interesting.
So it's absolutely stupid. Let's start there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not one to judge. I'm the one here with a frog in
Nope.
his throat. So,
Yep. No, we're all good. So taking garlic and alcohol out of the equation in June 1st, those are the first two things that you sweat out through your pores when you start sweating. So
okay.
by eliminating those, you're already eliminating the two largest scent formulas out of the equation.
Ah,
Deep fried,
okay.
I start to cut weight, and it
Gotcha.
becomes pretty considerable pretty fast. By the time August 1st hits and going vegetarian, you really start to cut weight. And now the muscle mass really starts to show of what you're capable of doing, and you're putting a lot of healthy stuff in rather than just a bunch of junk. And so
Gotcha.
really it's just bringing up that level of health before you go up chasing critters at 10,000 feet.
Gotcha. Okay. So this isn't like you've made these changes permanently in your life. It's like
Yeah.
annually, you're like,
Yeah, which is
goodbye alcohol, goodbye
really stupid.
garlic. Okay. That's
Because
interesting.
I like good beer. I really enjoy garlic. I
Okay.
like deep fried foods because why not? But yeah, the vegetarian is really where it gets absolutely stupid.
Yeah. I mean, that's
But it's
interesting.
for a
It's
reason.
very interesting. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Cool. Okay. That's all I wanted to ask, Sam. Keep going.
Okay. So where were we? We were talking about solo bow hunting and the level
Yep.
of danger and complexity to it. This was 4 years ago, so let's call it 44 years old. I was wandering around the mountain. I saw some elk, small herd, 4 or 5 moving. Watched them coming down a draw. And I realized, okay, I could probably get to him and cut him off. The problem was, as I wandered down that direction, I got into a blowdown area, about 150 yards deep and about 600 yards wide. And just about every tree was leveled. So my dumbass says, well, rather than go around it and lose time, let's go through it. And so okay, you see where this is going.
Yeah.
So
also, as soon as you go into one, you realize you've lost time. Like,
yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep.
So some of those logs were, 13, 14 inches high. Some of them were 38, 44 inches high. I got about 100 yards deep into it and went, this is absolutely stupid. There's got to be an easier way, because my day pack is about 31 pounds, as light as I can get it. My bow's 7 pounds. I'm carrying every bit of gear that I need.
Yeah.
But I've only got about 100 yards left to get through the blowdown, and I'm in and out. I can see that little small herd of elk moving. Cool. Well, I decided I'd find a log laying across the top of everything else. And what do? I get up on it and start walking.
Yeah.
At some point, I lost the ability to walk on that log. I woke up somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes later, covered in blood.
How do you know 20 to 30 minutes? Is it just a guess, or did
all
you
the
have
blood that was on me was dry.
Okay.
No fresh bleeding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could it have been longer? Could it have been longer, or do you not really know?
Absolutely could have been. I wasn't keeping track of time. I just know that when I woke up, things were bloody and it was already crunchy.
Okay.
Bent the cam on my bow, broke one of the limbs, string were everywhere. All of the arrows and broadheads were laying everywhere. So sorted myself out, figured out, okay, I'm covered in blood. What happened? I got shirts tore up, patched myself up, closed up all the holes, made sure nothing else was going to keep going.
Where was the main blood coming from, or could you tell at the moment?
So I ended up putting I sliced a chunk of broadhead right through here. So that was a huge,
Which is, for just the audio listeners, is his wrist.
Yeah, and that bleeds like stuck pig.
Yeah.
So that was the main spot, but apparently as I fell or moved or whatever, it covered the whole front of me in blood. So
interesting. Did you have an arrow out, or was it just
not
popped
when I was
out
walking
of your
through? It
quiver?
just, as everything came out of the quiver, it just caught me apparently.
Gosh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was a rough fall. So kids, don't do this. Go around.
Right? Jeez.
So got down to the bottom of the blowdown area, realized I can't shoot my bow, can't chase those elk like I want. Okay, make the trip back up to the truck, swap out my RX-7 for my RX-5, my backup bow, and let's go play some more, because I'm stupid.
How deep was the cut in your wrist?
It not deep. It was a good, probably half-inch long.
Okay.
Maybe,
Just in one of those spots that made a lot of blood.
Yep.
Okay.
Just enough for it to bleed.
Okay.
And so, made sure everything was wrapped up, cleaned up, put a little bit of bandage on it. All right, we're back to it.
Any concussion tests or anything? You're like, screw it, let's just grind.
I'm already up on the mountain. It's it's at least an hour and a half, almost 2 hour drive back down to the nearest town. No, let's just keep going. Because again, solo, stubborn, let's do it.
Yeah.
Head back down to that meadow where I was hoping the elk would be. Gave them about 2 hours. Sure enough, they were coming back the other direction. Put one down that day. Life's good. Made up for it, and even shot it with a backup bow that not the primary. So now, as a solo hunter, if for those of you that are listening or watching, if you've never packed out an elk by yourself, this is no joke. Anything that you've done for the hunt is the easy part of the work.
Yep.
Once you put the animal on the ground, now you're cutting it up by yourself. Now you're hauling it off by yourself. And that's where every bit of discipline, stubbornness, agitation come out. And it's just put in the work to get it back to the truck.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. Like, now the fun part, right? Which is the shitty part, which is often where the hunting stories come from. It's like, I shot the animal. Great. Here's where shit went crazy. It's the pack out.
Yep.
I've never packed out an animal solo, other than an axis deer. It's, whatever. I threw the whole thing in one pack and got out of there.
Yep.
So I have like daymares about like trying to pack out a whole elk or moose or something by myself. So good on you, man. Especially after smashing your head and cutting your wrist and all those things, I would not have kept going. So good on you.
I too stubborn to quit.
Yeah. I guess
it's not the only occasion. Probably 10, maybe 11 years ago, I was chasing some elk, heading straight up a steep hill. And again, 30-pound pack. I happened to lean back a little bit and look up the hill to see where I was going and what kind of angle I was at, and tumbled backwards.
Oh my gosh. I almost had that happen.
Lost about 100 yards.
Oh my God, no thanks. When I shot a bull elk in 23, and I'm hiking out, and there's one spot where it's just super steep, and it's not long, right? Maybe 50 yards up, but just like you're holding on to like roots and whatever you can to, and so like I just got to a spot where I thought I had balance, or a spot that I could stand up, just to, like stand straight up, stretch my back a little bit, and all of a sudden I realized, oh yeah, I've got like 120-pound. I had the antlers on, and I had the cape and all of that stuff, and all of a sudden I'm like doing this, the wing flapping, trying to get my weight to go forward. Just I'm like, come on, just give me an inch, and I managed to get that inch, grab a bush, and pull myself forward as the bush pulled itself like out of the ground. But my God, that would have been such a bad. I mean, again, I wouldn't have fallen far, but you don't want to fall with a rack of antlers on your back.
No, that's just a bad day all around.
Yeah, and I was hunting. I don't know if you know Jermaine Hodge and Pat Latrell, but like
I do.
This was my first bull. Yeah, and so I was like, guys, should I put the antlers down or the antlers up? And they're like, whatever, you're tall enough, you can put them down. So I got the antlers down, which
catching on everything.
We were walking through that bear brush that's just super thick and like 5 feet tall. So I'm like, if I had gone up, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Yep.
And now I'm just here dragging. I was so tired. Yeah.
Up also has, depending on where you're hunting, up also brings a different level of challenge, because if you're in the trees, you're catching every one of those antlers on every branch as you go through.
True.
There's just no happy midpoint there.
Yep. You're right. I didn't think about that. We didn't walk through many trees. In our situation, up would have been better. But maybe Pat and Jermaine still laugh at it. I don't know.
Jermaine's a nice guy. I'm sure he laughs at everything.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. Let's see, what else? One other thing I wanted to mention. I went hunting this year. I was just thinking about if I was hunting solo. I was walking back in the dark with two buddies, and we're walking across an old burn. And for whatever reason, it's not swampy or anything, but there's a hole, and I fell into this hole. One leg almost above my knee, which is a pretty deep hole. And like I'm there, and my buddies are laughing at me, and I'm like, guys, I can't get out of this. I like put my bow down, and I'm like, I need someone to lift me out of this. And I'm not a small guy. I'm 240. So I'm like, someone help me out of here. And so as you're telling your story about falling, I'm thinking, man, if I had fallen in that little hole walking back to camp, middle of the night, I don't know what I would have done. Like, it would have been a much trickier situation. So again, good on you, man.
Walking in the dark.
I don't know if I'm brave enough.
Going in or coming out, going in the dark is already a whole different level of scary, because all the predators are out and you are fodder.
Yep.
3 years ago, my mule deer, I dropped her right at dark. So I ended up cutting her up. So that was like, let's call it 7 o'clock at night here in Colorado. So the sun had just barely gone down. 2 hours to cut her up. Got that done, all under headlamp. But the whole time I'm cutting her up, I can hear coyotes all the way around me, howling and yipping within 100 yards.
Yeah.
They're hungry, and they know it's coming. So, all right, again, in the dark, middle of the woods, about 1.5 miles from the truck, same as you with your Axis, ruck up 130 pounds of mule deer and single pack out on the way out.
Yeah.
In the dark, just every step is a question mark. Even when you're running red lamp or white lamp, doesn't matter. Using the hiking poles as heavy as I can get them. It's a hike.
Yeah,
and then you got that heart pounding of the coyotes all the way around you.
Yep. Yeah, man. Now in Colorado, they could be wolves. You never know.
Very easily. Yep.
Cool. Well, Sam, that was a great story. I mean, I'm glad you're okay. Did you ever go to the doctor? Like, or check your brain or anything? No? Okay. That's all right. Who needs a brain?
Too stubborn. It's all good.
That's okay. You're here today, so everything worked out just fine.
That's right.
What other stories you got for us, man? That was a good one.
So I got another one that's a little bit on the, let's call it the sketchier side. This is probably almost 20 years ago.
Perfect.
So going from one valley to another, going up over a saddle. My buddy and I were hiking along, like I said, one valley to another, coming up over the saddle. And in that saddle, we ended up finding an old tent and an old sleeping bag. And I mean old. Probably, we guess somewhere around the 5 to 7 years worth of sun bleaching and wind tear. Both the tent and the sleeping bag. Didn't find anything else around it, but as you get up there and you see that and you start looking around going, okay, what else is up here, or what caused this, or what happened, or all the question marks start going through your head, and then going, should we really go into this next valley for a hunting trip, or something down there that's going to eat us?
Yeah. Yeah. You just start thinking about what went wrong? Why is this still here?
What happened? Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it made for a fun trip. It was a lot of great conversation, both on the hike over and then especially on the hike back when you come back and you look at it a second time going, dude, I don't know that I want to hang out here and look around. Let's just beat feet and head back to the truck, because that's unnerving when you find stuff like that up in the woods.
Yeah, for sure. This last season we were hiking around. We found like a big old like contractor trash bag, and we're like, well, that's an interesting thing to have in here. So we take a stick and we start looking inside of it. It was filled with like 40 game bags, like unused game bags, and I'm like, what was somebody thinking when they did this? Are game bags so heavy that like they can't bring out 4 or 5 with them when they hunt? They need to pack 40 in here and leave them here for this. Like, I don't know. It was very weird. Animals had obviously gotten to them, and there was like strips of game bag all over the place.
Sure.
It was a very weird thing to find.
I bet.
It's crazy what you can find out there.
When I was up in Washington State, chasing a couple elk trails, looked like highways, so they were very heavily used. Caught a whiff of something dead, so I wandered off the trail a little bit, found a little overhang. Yep, sure enough, found a little elk calf, half eaten. Then I happened to look up, and I'm underneath a mountain lion den.
My goodness.
It was okay, dummy. You're not supposed to be here. Back out, pull the
Yeah.
gun, back away slowly, and walk out.
Yeah, if you want to hear some crazy cougar stories, the episode with Eric Boone, and then Cliff Gray. You know Cliff?
I know the name. I've never met him.
Yeah, he's got a story where he crawled into a cougar den, and I'm like,
Nope.
sir, I'm like, I might not be that bright, but I got you beat on that one.
Yeah, nope.
But it's an amazing story. So anyone listening, make sure you check out Cliff Gray's episode, Eric Boone's episode. They both have great cougar stories. I mean, I've got a bunch more, but those two stand out. Did we go off track here, Sam, or was there more beyond you finding the ghost camp?
The ghost camp was another one. I found several, middle of nowhere old mining civilizations, I guess you want to call it. Not even villages. 2 or 3 mining huts, old miner cabins that easily late 1800s, early 1900s, but nowhere near a creek or stream or anything else where there'd be gold panning. So it's what are you building here? And nearest water source 800 yards away. It just, why is this up here? Who's hanging out up here? And again, a little unnerving. Let's go find somewhere else to be.
Yeah, it is unnerving when you find something like that. We were, again, this season, hiking in a burn, and we found what was pretty obviously an old cabin. And like you could see the spots where like the cabin, like the pressure exploded the windows out. You could see the window, the glass, and all that. But everything else was burned. So there's broken glass in obvious areas, maybe a little bit of a foundation wall, and then like an oven. And we're like, okay, that's interesting, an old cool house. Like that makes sense. Then we climb up this ridge up to where like up 400 feet above that, but like probably about a 3/4 of a mile away. And there was nothing there except for a giant metal like oven. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Down there made sense. It's at the bottom.
Right.
Up here, there's no debris. Like, how did this oven get all the way up here? It's just so weird. Like, who would even take it up there? This thing was like, I tried to lift it just because I was like curious. Couldn't by myself. So we're talking in the middle of nowhere,
Old cast
up on a
iron.
giant cliff. Yeah, giant cast iron oven with everything you'd ever need. I was just like, this is weird. This is weird. It didn't make much sense, but who knows what they were thinking back in the day.
It might have survived more than one fire. It might have been 2 or 3 fires that just scorched everything else around it, and that was the only thing that left.
Maybe, because there's absolutely nothing there except for that, and like there weren't even, I don't know, there wasn't even grass. It was like a rocky top on top of this cliff. I don't know. Either way, it's fun to find stuff in the woods. I've also one time I went out with my buddy, and I went out with Jermaine and Pat, and it was they took me out. Is their honey hole. And my buddy and I, while scouting, found an old cabin, whatever. So we basically took a bunch of time to rip out a nail because I had a buddy who could turn it into a knife. And I was like, I'm going to turn this into a knife and give it to Pat. I'm going to give it to Jermaine as a gift. And so I ripped this thing out, and it was actually like a plank more than a nail because it came off of an old like thing you tie up a horse to.
Okay, yeah.
And so we took that thing. My buddy spent like an hour trying to, as I had lunch pleasantly, he spent an hour beating the hell out of this log to try and get this piece of metal off of it, to take it back, to turn it into a knife for these guys. And then I feel like it got lost somewhere, like it fell out of my backpack or something. And I was like,
Oh
God,
no.
so frustrating.
Yep.
But it is fun
Neither
what you can find back there.
it. you- It's amazing what you find in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Again, probably more than 15, 16 years ago, chasing a mule deer around, trying to get close enough to take a shot. She bounced through a open meadow, and I stepped out in the open meadow. I happened to look over to the right, and there's a cow moose and a calf less than 10 yards from me. Oh, you tricky little bitch. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. That's
gotcha.
funny.
So backed up into the trees, 70 yards out and around. Caught up to her a couple hours later. All right, you're done now.
Yeah.
You set me up. Gotcha. Okay.
That's awesome. I've had a stock or two blown by a cow and a cow elk, and no, excuse me, cow moose and a calf. Had that happen with Jermaine actually. I'll quit talking about him. He gets enough screen time. All right, Sam. What else do you got for us today?
Let's see. We talked about some scary stuff. We talked about some fun stuff. Another moose adventure, hunting with a buddy. Let's call it 25 years ago.
Okay.
Chasing around. We were going for elk. We were splitting the mountain. I was going low. He was going high. We were on radios. As I'm walking along, I run into a cow moose. And she looked at me. Wasn't really concerned about me being there. I knew
Yeah.
he was still moving across the top of the mountain though. And so, all right, gave her about 5 to 7 minutes trying to let her wander off on her own. Nope, she wasn't having it. She was comfortable where she was. So, all right, so I stepped out from behind the tree. Hey, sweetheart, you got to go. And that spooked her enough to where she took off. Well, she took
Yeah.
off up the hill. So I chirped him. I said, hey, you got a moose coming to you. He said, all right. About 5 minutes later, chirps back, you asshole. I said, what? He goes, you said she was coming to me. You didn't tell me she was coming 100 miles an hour trying to run me over. Dude, when she left me, she was coming your way. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Moose are funny because like I think if you're outside of 100 yards and they see you, they'll run.
Yeah.
But if you're like sub 70, they don't care. It's like there's like that weird band you got to get across where like all of a sudden they'll see like I killed a moose 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago.
Congrats.
Thanks. It's a cow moose, but still, I
Don't
got to
matter.
like 40 yards, stood up, realized the brush was too tall and I couldn't shoot. And she's eyeballing me. And I'm like, crap. So I just sort of stepped to the side, being like, what else am I going to do? So I just walked sideways, full draw, until had an open shot and waited until she turned broadside enough for me to fire. And she just stood there for, I don't know, probably 40 seconds. And I'm like, all right, that's fine by me. If you ain't going to go anywhere, I'll wait. If you'll wait.
They don't consider us a threat.
Yeah, that's true. But like I said, any moose that I found that same hunt, because we ran into a few, if I wasn't sub 70 or sub 100, they
Right.
see you and they run. They have no interest in things that are farther away, which is interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just anecdotal. I don't know.
Yep. I had a bull moose run in 5 years ago. Was coming up. I was walking up the draw, chasing elk. Wasn't even chasing moose. Coming up the draw, and somehow this bull caught wind of me, and he was out in the scrub, and just decided he was pissed off.
Yeah.
And so he ended up thrashing 4 or 5 little scrub bushes, tore a couple out of the ground, threw them around, dirt all over himself, just snorting and pissing everywhere. Fun to watch for a good half hour, and then I finally said, all right, I pissed you off enough. It's time to keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. When I shot my moose, I shot her late at night, and it's just it was probably the last 30 seconds of shooting light. So I saw her run, and I couldn't quite range where I thought she laid down. We were looking for blood, and we couldn't find any. Turns out because the arrow had pulled, quartering towards pretty hard.
Right.
It had lungs, heart, but then pulled out a little bit of intestine out the back hole. And
Okay.
so she didn't bleed like at all. So we gave up on that night and said, we'll come back the next morning. Plus there's a huge thunderstorm rolling in. We're like, let's just get out of here. Let's be safe.
Yeah.
The next morning we roll in and there's a giant bull moose. Well, first there's a coyote. My buddy's like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, no, it's not cool.
No.
I was like, I killed a moose within 200 yards of here. This is very not cool. But then we go a little bit farther and there's a bull just blah, blah, just ripping trees out. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is cool. Screw that coyote. This is super cool. We just stood there as he slowly just ripped every tree out and walked through the valley until eventually we were like, okay, we're comfortable to start looking for her now.
Right.
Which is great because I basically was ranging her, ranging, and I couldn't see anything, but the rangefinder doesn't care about light. So I'm ranging, and when my rangefinder jumped, because I knew there's a tree behind her. I was like, I think that's when it's going from ground to tree. So I
Right.
just put a pin using Onyx at the rough distance that thing jumps from like 70 yards to 120 yards. So I
Okay.
put a pin in that direction at 70 yards, walked to my pin, and it was within 5 feet of her. And I was like,
That's
yes.
perfect. Can't go wrong with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But the night before, I was like, there was a full pass through on the arrow, but we just weren't quite sure if she was dead. So we're like, let's just give her time.
And
So,
best thing you could do, especially for the size of the animals, the way that they'll survive damn near anything.
yeah.
And kind of to your point, you mentioned thunderstorms. Here, this year's been devastating for thunderstorms for hunters.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
couple
Those
guys
two,
here in Colorado,
yeah.
the one guy down in Louisiana, and then a couple in Carolinas,
Yeah. Yeah. I think 4 or 5 guys have passed away this year just from,
just from
lightning.
lightning. Yep.
So it's crazy. One guy, even his dog was with him and the dog
Right.
passed. So, but yeah, that Colorado one was crazy. That was in the woods when that happened. They were a fair amount
Same.
south of where I was hunting, but I remember
Where
being
were
like,
you
man,
at?
we'll talk about that later. We
Oh,
can't talk
okay.
about that on the podcast. Come on. But
I was
yeah, I
up in Walden
remember.
that weekend, so
Okay, I wasn't quite that far north, but yeah, I was a little bit farther south than you.
okay.
I won't say east or west, but I was a little farther south than you. Yeah, but yeah, that was crazy, especially because it was cool to see how the hunting community, like all of these Facebook groups
All
and
came
forums,
together.
everybody was like, "How can we help? What can I do? I've been in that unit. Here's information that I have."
Right.
It was pretty cool to see that. It was and it was also weird how everyone went pretty conspiracy theory on it because they're like, "Oh, their stuff's in their truck, and
Right.
like it doesn't make sense. Why would they leave that?" For the quick day, and then people were like, "Oh, they were talking to people, and maybe they got in that other person's car." There's all sorts of conspiracy theories that ended up just being lightning, but still, it's
Yep.
terrible.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's hard when not only there's no communication, but there's no uploads from any of the electronics. Everything just went quiet,
Yeah.
and so yeah, you got to. The hard part, search and rescue, had to go out, and they spent what, a week and a half looking for him,
Yeah. And they were like less than a mile from their truck. It
right?
was crazy. Crazy. But well, that's a bummer right there. But what else? What else do we got, Sam? Give us a good one.
Another good one. Another good one. Let's go for a lot of good successes here in the last few years. The 4 years ago, my pronghorn shot was 1,200 yard stock and 94 yard shot to the pronghorn.
Ooh, a
He
bow
don't
or a rifle? I was
bow.
okay. That's a hell of a shot, Sam.
I practice on moving targets, and my warm up shots are usually at 110, so I'm
Yeah.
very comfortable making those longer shots.
And you have to be if you're gonna not be in a blind for antelope, you got to be comfortable
You,
taking those kind of shots.
yep. The
I
the
had an
hard part
antelope.
was the 1,200 yard stock in.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Antelope hunting. I don't know if I ever want to do it with a bow again. I say that until I get a tag, and I'll be like, yes.
It's, since then, it's been. I try not to stalk them anymore, just because I know it's a lot of fun. I've had a great time chasing them, but sitting on a fence line in a blind while you're hot and sweaty all day, it's a whole lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. I actually shot my antelope not too far from Walden, so we can definitely talk about all that later. But yeah, I took a 90-yard shot on an antelope that was just standing there. Like they know
Hmm.
your range, and they just stand there. And I was like, well, like I was actually driving to go check my blind, and I was like, well, he's just standing there. I'm gonna get out of the car, see if he's still standing there. So I got out of the car. He's still
Yep.
standing there. And so then I go to get my bow, still standing there. So I'm like, all right, well,
Yep.
let's try this thing. So I walked. We weren't on a road. We were just on like a little trail. So I pull back 90 yards and I just let go the perfect shot. Like never felt better. And I'm like, yes. And then as it's going there, I realize there's a 25-mile-an-hour wind directly behind me,
Whee!
going right to it. So it didn't miss left or right. It went right over his back, and the fletching smacked him on his back. And I was
Oh,
like, I
nice.
guess clean miss. I'll take a clean miss.
Yeah, I'd rather have that than wound.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that wind got me. I've said it before on this podcast. I don't mind cold. I don't mind hot. But man, wind will frustrate the hell out of me and
Every time.
questions whether or not I'm having fun.
Yep.
The wind does that quickly.
Yep.
So
I had
I even
another.
I even had the the stalker bow or the stalker
Hmm.
decoys you put on the front
Yep.
of your bow. I got up to I snuck up behind an antelope on this big hill, and I'm up there, and I had that stupid thing on the front of my bow, and he's 60 yards bedded, and I'm like, I got this. And I get ready to get to shoot, and the wind rips the stalker, the decoy, off,
Oh
off of my
no.
bow, and it's just because it's Velcro.
Right.
And that guy, that antelope did not look back. He just went straight and just ran, and I was just sitting there, and now I'm chasing my decoy, on
Right.
this top of this like little ridge. I was like, this is stupid. I hate antelope hunting.
It can be, I would say, hunting elk is challenging. Hunting pronghorn is truly humbling.
Yeah.
That trying to throw a stock on a pronghorn from any kind of distance it's humbling altogether. But it's
Yeah,
a lot of fun if you can get in there and make it successful.
for sure. For sure. I mean, you might have 200 yards with no cover and 3 feet of elevation that you're trying to use to your advantage, and you're laying in sagebrush. Yeah.
Or cactus.
Yep. Yep.
I,
Yeah.
I
I'm
had
going to show you this guy. This is the antelope that I ended up getting on that hunt. But check out this. He has no prong on one side.
no cutter at all.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I mean, he almost looks like he wants to have one, but
I,
no
I,
cutter at
I don't
all.
know any better, but I'm going to assume that he got in a fight and maybe broke it off.
Could be.
Um, because
It's scarred up. Yeah.
yeah, he was tired. And that's why I think I got lucky. And I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was a fun hunt, and he's delicious.
Turn him into sausage. Call it good.
Yep. Yep. All right. Okay. I keep taking us on tangents, Sam. Sorry, I'm having
That,
fun. What else do we
when
got?
you're talking pronghorn hunting, man, that's all tangent. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. What other stories do you want to share?
So I have, for those that have never hunted pronghorn with a bow before, Michael mentioned it, hunting from a blind. I mentioned it, hunting from a blind, and that's all well and good. You can use an ultimate predator decoy or whatever decoy you want to throw out there. That said, I had an old farmer down by Trinidad talk to me one day when I was very frustrated about chasing pronghorn down that direction. He said, "Were you flagging them?" I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." He goes, "Okay, do you know your history?" And I said, "Well, I think I know history." He says, "All right, do you know why the pronghorn used to come into the covered wagons when Oregon Trail was going on and they'd come in real close?" And I said, "No idea." He says, "Well, pronghorns think that white covered wagon is another big pronghorn that they want to, in their territory, that they want to push out or meet with, one of the two."
Yeah.
I said, "All right." He said, "So if you want to get a pronghorn's attention, take a piece of white shirt, about 6 to 10 inches tall, about 14 to 15 inches wide, tie it off the end of one arrow, and wave it up and around as you're sitting next to a sagebrush." I'm thinking, this guy's out of his freaking mind, but all right, I'll try it. What the hell? So
I know where this is going.
next
Okay.
day I try it. I ended up bringing in a beautiful buck from about 1,200, 1,500 yards out. He came into, let's call it about 125 yards from me. We played for 3 hours as he made a full circle all the way around me, talking to me, that high pitched whistle, stomping his foot at me, snorting at me, but he would never come in closer than about 112, 114 yards.
Yeah.
But 3 hours of just playing with him was just absolutely fantastic. And I had no belief that using a chunk of white t-shirt as a flag would bring him in. Sure enough, it will.
Yeah. I believe that, man. I have. This is not my story. I'm going to tell it though because it's one of the favorite stories I've ever heard on this podcast. Do you know Joe Julia with the Elk Bros?
Yep. Yep.
So he had actually never told this story on a podcast until he got on my podcast. It's like one of the early episodes, episode 10 or something. And I encourage everyone to check out that episode because it's great. Joe's an amazing
Joe's
storyteller.
awesome. Yep.
He's wonderful and he's kind. He's a great human. But he tells the story, and I'll try and do it justice. But he's out antelope hunting and he's in his 20s, so this is a long time ago.
Well, that was
But he's
a very
not
long
having
time ago.
Yeah. But he's having a tough time, right? He's not having any luck, and he remembers someone telling him the same sage advice that you received, right? Like have a little white thing, and he's looking. He's like, I don't have an undershirt. I don't have anything that's white. And so he's getting on these antelope, and they're not coming in. He's like, what do I do? And he realizes I do have something that's white, and it's his underpants.
Oh, no.
Right? So Joe, rather than taking them off and waving them around to try and drag them in, he actually just drops trowel and starts walking backwards.
Okay.
So he's showing them the full moon, right? So
Yep.
so Joe is like, he's just scooting backwards through the sagebrush, hams out in his whitey tighties, just scooting, and he's like, this is working. This is working. So he's just like wiggling his butt. He says he's wiggling. He's trying to make it wave a little bit. Imagine Joe just twerking
And
backwards.
Joe's not a small guy.
Nope, he's not a small guy. He's what, 6'1", 6'2", and
Easily, yeah.
yeah. So just two big old white ham hocks just slowly moving backwards on these antelope, and he's just sitting there to himself like, this is working. And so he gets an arrow out and he's still just going backwards, going backwards, going backwards. And he gets to like maybe 100 yards and he's kind of looking over his shoulder one way and he just decides to look over the shoulder the other way. And up on the ridge next to him is a couple, just two people, just watching him. They've watched him back up like 500 yards with his ass out, and
That's awesome.
he just sees them, stands up, pulls his pants up, and walks off into the sagebrush. He's like, nope, I'm not gonna have that conversation. This hunt is done, and just he did not kill an antelope, but he did say that it did work. So if anyone out there can test this and actually complete the hunt,
More power
I'll
to
give
you.
you a
Congrats.
prize or something, man. Because if you can complete the Joe Gilia move, more power to you, man. But that story cracks me up, and Joe tells it even better than I do.
I
And he
can
tells it
see
longer.
Joe doing that.
But oh my gosh, man, it's so funny. It's just your story reminded me because same thing, just waving a white flag. I've heard it works. I haven't had success with it. I've actually turned one of my like camo shirts inside out because the inside's kind of white,
Right?
and tried doing that, but I haven't had any luck. Or with a decoy with big white spots, I haven't had any luck. So
Yeah. And then I've seen the guys that have the foam pronghorn
yeah,
head
yep,
hat thing going on. And I'm thinking, that's all well and good, but you are really trusting that nobody's going to shoot you.
yeah. That's a private land strategy, right? Kind
Right.
of like when you with like a turkey fan. Never use a turkey
Y-
fan in public. You got to be on private.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be very limited window. I even chatting with a guy where he said, I dropped my pronghorn and I just picked it up, threw it over my shoulders, and I hiked it out. I went, "You're a brave soul, because there's no way I'm picking up an animal and hiking it out like that. If somebody looks at it from a long distance, they're going to take a shot. It's not worth it."
Yeah, definitely not like a rifle season where guys might be shooting over 1,000 yards, but
Right.
archery, I might throw an antelope in the sagebrush, like nothing's higher than a foot tall.
Right.
I might do it in that case, but yeah, you got to be careful with that
You
with that
want to
kind of
be
stuff.
super conscious about where you are and what's around you, and what that safety factor is.
Yeah, I always even
Don't do
archery
stupid
season.
things.
Yeah, archery season. I carry around an orange vest in my pack so that
Okay.
if I ever do kill something, I can just like wrap it around the antlers.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Something so that it's just like something stands out, being like, oh, it's not just a rack walking through the woods. It might be at a weird angle, but I just
Right.
want anyone to mess with me. I don't want to get shot. So
Yeah.
I always
No,
carry around some orange flagging to put on antlers or
that's a
whatever
good
I'm
call.
packing out.
That's a good
So
call. I haven't killed that many bulls. I don't try to chase the big monsters like Jermaine or anybody else. I'm happy just filling the freezer with a cow, or even mule deer. I'm fine with taking a doe and throwing it in the
yeah,
pack. You can't eat antler. It doesn't do me any good, and I don't have trophies. So the few bulls and bucks that I've killed over the time, I end up taking them out to a guy here in Colorado Springs out east that buys the antlers and turns them into dog snacks. So
there you go. There you
yeah,
go.
that just
Yeah,
helps fund the addiction, is all it is.
yeah. I think we both. I'm okay hunting does as well, but it's not because I think the same reason you are. I'm just not good enough to be picky, right? Like, if I get an opportunity, I need to take it.
Yep, that's fair.
But for you, like you're making things harder on yourself, and you're going through all these things. So it's a different reason. But yeah, I have no problem with people shooting does. I do it. My bull is like a 310, somewhere in that range bull. Great bull, super happy. Stuffed him. He's upstairs.
There
I
you
don't
go.
need another big bull. Like at this point, moving forward, it's just about meat for my family. So
Yep, that's for me. That's my grandfather told me when I was really, really young. If you're gonna hunt, the trophy is meat in the freezer. It doesn't matter for anything else. And so
100%.
I've kept that mentality. So I don't have any ivories. I don't have teeth. I don't have hides. No horns. No antlers. It's just not worth it. Not even feathers.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, just not my
Interesting.
thing. It's fill in the
That's
freezer
totally
and call
fine.
it. Yep.
Yeah, I'll take. I mean, I have my like cow moose. So I was like, I'm Euro mounting that cow moose. I don't even care. Like I'm
As you
super
should,
excited about it. So like
right?
I do enjoy a trophy, but it's more about the memories for me.
Yep.
But it doesn't need to be antlers. It could be a hide. Like you can
Yep.
see my access to your hide over
Right.
there.
Yep.
So yeah, but
I
that's cool, man. To each their own.
Yeah, I've hunted, like I said, hunted pigs down in Texas. I've hunted javelina in New Mexico. They're all fun. They're all
Yeah,
freezer filler. That's all they are.
yeah.
So,
How do you like javelina as far as eating them?
ooh.
I hear mixed reviews. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious now, especially with your response.
it was a it was a fun, interesting hunt.
Yeah,
Everything was pokey and bitey and sticky, and I can't say I had a lot of fun because I ended up with a few thorns in my leg and thigh
yep,
and arms, and flavor wise, not my favorite. And for an out of state tag. I think it was like $200, 230, something like that, for the 22 or 23 pounds of meat that I pulled. It wasn't worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good feedback.
Yeah.
I still would love to hunt one of them stink pigs. I hear they're mean little bastards, and also they're blind as a bat, so you can like get pretty close to them, and you can have some fun hunting them.
But here's one of the things that my buddy and I learned while we were down there. Even if you find a water hole, even if you find fresh tracks, it doesn't mean they're going to come back that day. They might even not come back for 10 days. They can pull enough water off of the cactus that are down there.
Okay.
They don't have to come to the water hole all the time. And so that made that hunt a lot more challenging, a lot more fun, because I mean, we found fresh sign at the waterfall. We found fresh highways where they were walking through, dust kicked up on the leaves and branches from that morning. And where I figured, there's no way they're going up that hill. No, they went all the way up this steep, rocky nastiness, and going, you have legs that are like 8 inches long. How are you going up there? Nope, didn't matter.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I've never had the opportunity. But when I was a more novice hunter, hunting some hogs. Now that I think about it, maybe they were javelina because they were a little bit more aggressive than hogs typically are. But I just didn't know any better back then because I've only been hunting for so long. But
Okay.
I would love to get after them at some point or another. Someday I'll get down there into the south and
I would say if you're gonna do it, go to Arizona. It's a whole lot easier than trying to do it in southern New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. What do you have any more stories you want to share, Sam? Otherwise, we can dive a little bit into what you're up to with Valor Archery and those things. Your call.
I run through most of my stories. I mean, the rest of it's got some really good missed stories, but not everybody wants to hear those.
Hey, if you enjoy telling them, we'll like to. I'm sure we would enjoy hearing them.
All right, so we'll go back to a pronghorn hunt.
Okay.
Wife and I went up for a deer hunt. Was very, very unsuccessful. She said, "You know what? If you want to drop into the valley, Walden area, if you want to drop it in the valley and go chase pronghorn, well, let's do it." So, okay, cool. Dropped into the valley that night. Went to bed. It was like 65 degrees. Woke up at 2 a.m. It was 17.
Yeah, it's
cold in that valley, especially at the bottom. So I ended up snuggling in and going back to sleep for a little longer than I planned on. So by the time I woke up and warmed up, it was already daylight. All right, 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish. All right, well, it's time to grab some breakfast. So grab some breakfast, kind of slower, not getting after it hard or heavy. Got dressed, unzipped the tent. 45 yards, there's a freaking pronghorn standing right there. Okay, now I'm in a hurry, grabbing my gear. He figured out what was going on, didn't want to play the game, so he ran off probably 150 yards. Grabbed my bow, forgot my rangefinder, didn't grab my binos, just fast and furious to go after him. Got to about 70 yards, dropped down to my hands and knees, started crawling. Got towards the 100-yard mark, got onto a belly crawl and just working my way up. And little hill, little incline. He was on the other side, popped up. Yep, you look like you're about 60 yards. Because again, dummy didn't bring his rangefinder.
Okay.
So you look like you're about 60 yards. So I nock an arrow, I draw back, I let that arrow fly at 60. It goes a good 12 inches over his back. Well, crap.
Okay.
So he runs off. So I just laid there and kind of humbly cussed myself out. Dummy, you forgot the rangefinder. That's why you missed. So, turns out he didn't run far. He didn't actually realize what happened. He could never put two and two together. He ran up to my left at about 45 yards from me.
Oh, jeez.
Stomped and snorted at me was the only reason I even noticed he was there. So, knocked another arrow. Now he's full frontal on me. Again, not realizing a good solid distance. Drew back, let an arrow fly, just skimmed the inside of his shoulder as the arrow went by him, barely nicked him. Arrow went flying, good 180, 200 yards.
Into the sage, you'll never find it.
I did, actually.
Oh, wow.
An hour later.
I lost plenty of arrows in that sagebrush in that same area. So
Pink and white fletchings, they go a long way in that shit.
Dude, I have pink. Well, I might have had orange and white at that time, but I also had a Luminoc, and I still couldn't. And I was like, maybe I'll come back tonight.
Yeah, but you're right. I've lost a ton of arrows in sagebrush.
Yeah.
But yeah, after the second shot, he finally said, okay, I'm not playing with you anymore, and he took off running. Walked back with my tail between my legs, head down, all the way back to the tent. Wife just looked at me, laughed, said, you forgot the rangefinder. I said, yeah, sure did.
Yep. Would have been useful today.
Yeah, hard lessons, but
That's okay.
still fun.
I've said it on the podcast before, man. The best lessons are self-taught.
That's
It's
right.
those little mistakes that hopefully aren't too big, and you probably never will do that again, right?
Nope. Rangefinder's always attached to me now. So,
Yep, yep. See, it's a quick and easy fix. You got to make a mistake one time to make a pretty good lesson for your life.
but it's amazing how quick you learn it, and it sticks with you forever.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Well, Sam, man, it was great to hear all your stories. I want to hear a little bit more about Valor Archery and then anything else that you want to share with the folks, because
So,
I want to come shoot this year.
very cool. Come on out. So, before we get to Valor, let's talk about the other business, which is archery in motion, moving targets.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
For let's start into 2023, early 2024. I was forwarding stuff to Joe pretty heavily because I knew Joe likes to play in that space of elk hunting, elk coaching, and
Joe Julia, just
Yep.
want to make sure. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Elk Bros really they've got a big following as far as the right way to hunt and how to train for it. I
Yeah.
figured the moving target really be a good thing for him. So I sent Joe a couple direct messages on Instagram. He finally kindly replied, and I'm very kindly, "Hey Sam, I appreciate it. I like what you're doing, but we're not interested." Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to an event down in Raton, New Mexico. Took the moving target down there.
Western Hunt Fest?
That's the one. Ended up meeting Joe face to face. We had a great conversation about it. And he said, I appreciate what you're doing. I like where it's going. We're just not interested. I said, all good. No heartburn. The next day he came out and he got a chance to shoot at it. White-tailed deer, moving 10-foot linearly. While the 10-foot worth of distance, I only gave you about a 3.5 window to make the shot through all the sage and all the scrub. And it was about 37 yards. So Joe's got 4 or 5 of his buddies there. He draws back, he takes the shot, and he very much frontal shots this deer, even though it's broadside.
And he shoots, is it trad or is it just,
He was on a compound.
is that compound? Okay.
Yep. So he said, all right, nope, let's do it again. Cool. So I backed the target back up. We reset it. We send it off again. Almost identical shot. Hard front shoulder. I'm not talking into the lung front shoulder. I'm just talking front shoulder.
Yeah.
He says, well, I can see where this is going to go. So he pulls me aside. He said, I owe you an apology. I said, well, I appreciate that. He goes, no, man, it's a lot of fun. And I can really see where this would be beneficial to help people learn how to shoot and understand because we all know feet per second on our bow. Almost anybody that shoots knows the feet per second of their bow. But how does that really translate when the target's moving or at distance? He goes, and that's where I really think this is going to come into play of getting people to learn that. And I said, that's really what it's designed for. So that you understand, if I put it out there at 40 yards, you know where you need to make that shot in order to get it there, that connection and timing so that it gets there on time. So with that said, archery in motion has been a lot of fun. It's now integrated into the Valor Archery Challenge. So I've got 2 different moving targets. One is the linear mover, 10 foot, just straight line back and forth. And then I've got the monster. And if you've paid attention to any of the social media here, especially in the last couple of days, I've got videos of the monster target with a Reinhardt half scale bighorn sheep on it. At close end was 28 yards and at the far end is like 39. And it's 3 miles an hour, moved in an oval track, and it's a humbling little bastard for most.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've seen it, and I've had a lot of buddies shoot it, and they're always like, "Man, it is fun. It is fun to shoot." And I went on
Jermaine
it.
is another one that got humbled by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went on this axis deer hunt, and I remember thinking exactly about your product. And we didn't know each other, or any of that. But I remember when I got there, they were like, "Axis deer do not stop moving. They're also a menace. They're like wild hogs here. They're destroying the island."
Right.
So they're like, "Don't worry about them stopping. Just shoot. Just shoot. You're gonna lose arrows. Just shoot." And I was just like, "Man, I wish I had done that thing where there was the moving target, because I've never done that." And I was thinking, this is gonna be tough, because I have no idea what this looks like, and just trying to think about the speed of the arrow and blah blah. And I was like, whatever. I'll just trial and error. I lost a lot of arrows, is what I'll say, before I eventually found this guy drinking out of a trough, standing still, and I was like, sweet, okay, fine.
Take the shot now.
But yeah, it's a skill to have, and so it's cool.
Is.
And I've personally thought about your products. I can't wait to come shoot it.
The other piece of it is, if you've got a solid, comfortable shot process on a stationary target, that's awesome. But there's a lot of folks that, especially target shooters, that they'll draw back and they'll take their sweet time at full draw, and whether it's 30 seconds, 40 seconds, they're make sure that pin, the bubble, and everything else is lined up and dialed. If you got a moving target out there, you don't have that opportunity. For this October 11th event that we just had, that on the close end at 28 yards, I gave you 7 seconds worth of shot window to get that shot off, because that we had the oval track facing towards you, and that was the only broadside shot you got. So if you weren't ready in that 7-second window, you had to wait for it to come back around, and which means you're a full draw for at least 50 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it, man. I believe it. That makes me think of, so I told you about my moose and my antelope. They were the same season. They were like 6 days apart. Nice. My moose pulled back, I had 50 seconds. Everything's perfect. The shot was just felt like exactly, they say shot process, all that.
Yep.
Antelope. I pulled up and I couldn't believe the distance he was at. He was at 39 yards. And I was like, no, I don't really believe it. I ranged him like 5 times, and I pull up and I'm full draw. As soon as I get full draw, he turns his head at me. I smacked that trigger. I was like, I'm sending that arrow, man. And so, was he moving yet? I don't know. I just remember firing the arrow. I remember sticking him. Yep. And he's here, and I'm eating him. So I'm happy with it, but it's just totally different, which isn't a problem for me, but I could see how for some people, they'd be like, no, if I can't do all my little nestings, it may not work out. So either way, it's cool what you're doing. And I'm like I said, I'm excited to come down to Valor this year and actually try this thing.
Come on out. I've got 10 books. Words are hard. 10 events booked for 2026 already. Predominantly in Colorado. We're going to have a few events for Carson. We're going to jump back down to the Colorado Outdoorsman Days again. Colorado Outdoorsman Days, if you're not familiar, for you or anybody else that's watching or listening, big event, making sure it's for Coloradoans for responsible wildlife management and to save the hunt, so that we can push back against the anti-hunters, trying to keep it moving forward in the right direction. Yeah.
Some big guests for that, too. Cam Haynes showed up for that 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago. We also had Derek Wolf 2 years ago. We had quite a few big names out there this year. Jermaine's been a big part of it the last couple of years with the elk calling competition. This year, 2025, I was asked to go down and set up the archery event for it. And because it's a flat open field with not a single scrub, tree, rock, or anything else, I had to create my own challenge, and that meant that the steel rib cages, the steel pillars, the steel fence line, the really stupid angle shots all came out in full force. And it was I've got a bunch of videos and pictures out on social media. Good challenge for a lot of folks. Blew up a bunch of arrows for folks. But we also had, things like the clay pigeon shot. How often you get to shoot a clay pigeon with a bow?
Yeah.
Or shoot a moving platypus with a bow.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, let's talk about, you're talking about your events now, so let's segue into your actual archery events. Tell us a little bit about that, and then you can walk off into the sunset.
Fair enough. So while there's a bunch of other 3D archery events across the country, whether it's Beast Mode, TAC, Western Hunt Fest, whichever one you want to pick, they're all good. They're all a lot of fun. I've shot TAC for a number of years. I shot Western Hunt Fest, cruised around with those guys in 2024. What I found and identified was really the fact that nobody was doing archery as therapy. And all those different events are designed for, if you're already a comfortable shooter, you've already got your own equipment, and it's really wrapped around increasing your current skill set. But if you've never been to an event, you don't have your own gear, you don't know what to expect, it's very intimidating for a lot of folks. So Valor was born part in that way. I picked up a whole bunch of rental gear, so adult bows, kids bows. Kids bows are at 15 pounds max draw. Adult bows are at 30 pounds max draw. Bunch of arrows for rental arrows. And that way, if you've never shot before, you don't know what to expect, you don't even know if you like archery, Valor's a great chance to come out, sling some arrows, shoot at some moving targets, some 3D targets. I went out of my way to go find some targets that are not common in the industry. So whether it's platypus, flamingos, porcupine, yeti, Bigfoot, just different stuff to make you really rethink about your life choices.
Okay.
And because I have a slightly broken sense of humor, none of the shots are easy. Challenge is in the name. So whether it's a steel rib cage, steel pillar, really stupid angles of the targets hard quartering away, or even 6 foot, 4 foot out from you, or 127 yards. I really try to go out of my way to make it fun, entertaining, and challenging all at the same time, whatever your skill set is or whatever your age group is. This year, 2025, I gave away almost $14,000 worth of prizes from a bunch of awesome raffle prize sponsors, all of which have signed on again to do it all over again for 2026. So
that's awesome.
if you need new gear, buy a registration ticket, get a raffle ticket, come on out, sling some arrows. Chance of getting some pretty cool stuff are pretty high.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And like I said, it's been something on my list this year. Even before our mutual like connection connected us,
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna go do these this year because they just look like a ton of fun. So, I'll be there. I'm not sure. I won't be at all of them because I got a baby on the way, so I have limited time. But I will be at least one of them. So I'll make sure to.
You want to come out and shoot before the baby gets here because you might not get the chance afterwards.
If only the baby's here. Let's see, 3 weeks. So
Oh,
that
no,
baby,
you're-
and by the time this thing's published, it's like a week. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So I'm running out of time here.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think you have any events this week.
Nope, not till April 2026. Will be
Okay,
the first
perfect.
one.
Perfect. Well, I get a get out of jail free card in April because it's my birthday, so we'll
You can't go
hit up
wrong.
that one. Yeah,
Cool.
there we go. Cool, Sam. Well, man, it was great to meet you. I'm glad we were
Thank you
able to
very much
finally.
for having me.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed chatting with you, telling you some of my stories, hearing yours. Get that head checked out because I'm still worried about you falling off that log.
It's all good, man.
But to the listeners, guys, please check out the links in the show notes. I'll put links to everything Archery in Motion, Valor Challenge, all that stuff will be there. Whatever Sam wants to share, social medias, they'll be there. One click away.
All right, guys, that's it. Another couple stories in the books. I want to thank Sam again for coming on the podcast. I had to reschedule on him. Then I got sick, and we did it anyways. Either way, Sam, thank you so much for sharing. It was a pleasure to hear your stories. I know you have plenty more. We'll probably have you back on here again in the future. And for you listeners, again, sorry about my voice during the whole episode and the intro and outro here. We're going to keep this relatively short. Please give us a like, a follow, Instagram, whatever socials, wherever you're listening to us, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. Please give us a like and a review. It does help us grow. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you. Now get out there,